In this short class we're going to look at decimals. Now decimals carry on from fractions, and we're going to make lots of comparisons with fractions, but it's quite a straightforward class. It really is revision on what you did at school. We make no apologies for this. It's important to be familiar with fractions and decimals and percentages and all of the essentials in arithmetic before you take on something more substantial. So these are just bringing back items into mind. If you feel it's far too simple or you're familiar with it, then just turn it off and do something else. But as far as we're concerned, this is important. It's important to bring everybody up to speed, as we say. So let's look at decimals. Now, with decimals, we really are dealing with a particular type of fraction, except we write it differently. And fractions can be difficult to calculate. Remember, if we get 1 over 7 plus 1 over 46, we're adding something which is quite complicated. We have to do some arithmetic to work that out. So fractions can be difficult. They can be awkward to deal with. Imagine if you had to evaluate something like that. Now that looks very bad. It looks difficult. We've got, it could be worse. We could have multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting in there, but it's bad as it is. We've got on the bottom here, on the denominator at the bottom, remember fractions have numerators at the top, numerators, denominators at the bottom. The denominator here is 7 and 113, 69, 120. It's awkward. It can be done. We can do it. We could do it without a calculator. It's just not very convenient. And certainly it's not useful in everyday life, particularly in subjects like engineering, where people want very precise answers and they want to be able to have an efficiency in calculation. So being presented with fractions like this, is not a nice experience. It's difficult to calculate. Now decimals simplify fractions by only having a denominator of 10. So with decimals, all denominators, all the numbers on the bottom of the fraction are all 10. This one's 13, this one's 129. Well, both of these would be 10 if we were dealing in decimals. So decimals standardize on 10, and 10, the number 10 is easy to use. So when we have denominators of 1/10 or 1/100th or 1,000, it starts to get easier because these are easier numbers to deal with. And they're all the same. Decimals are all based on 1/10. So you'll see how easy it is once we start to work through it. So 10 is the common denominator in the decimal system. All of the numbers in the decimal system will all have, as a denominator, they'll have a 10. In fact, we won't write them as fractions at all. We won't write them like this. We'll write them differently, as we'll see later. Now, take this addition, for example. We have 4, the numerator 4, over the denominator 10. So it's 4 over 10 plus 3 over 10 equals 7 over 10. In this case, we just add the numerators. 4 plus 3 is 7. And the 10 remains a constant because both are the same. So 4 over 10 plus 3 over 10 is equal to 7 over 10. That's easy. 10 is the common denominator. So the common denominator is always worked out for us in decimals. It's always 10. And that's a lot easier to use. This number up here, 4 over 10, we could write that as 0.4. That's what we say, 0.4. The point means it's 4 over 10. The first place here is over 10. This one is 3 over 10 and 7 over 10. If we had 4, 1, we'd have 4 over 10 plus 1 over 100. We'll talk about that later as well. But you can see how easy this is becoming. So 4 over 10 plus 3 over 10 plus 7 over 10 is equal to 1.4. I've actually written here as 1.4 over 10. It's not actually that, it's 14 over 10. It should be 7 plus 3 is 10 plus 4 is 14. So I've got a decimal point there in the wrong place. So I apologize for that. It should be 14 over 10, which is equal to 1. 10 into 14 goes in once, and there's 4 left over. So 1.4 is 1 and 4 tenths. So it's 41 over 10, it's another example. 41 over 10 is equal to 4.1. It's 4, there's 4 tens in there, 40, 4 tens, and there's 1 left over, 1 tenth. 1 tenth is 0.1. 0.1 is 1 tenth. Not 0.1 equals 1 tenth. Everything is to the base of 10. The denominator is 10. In this case, it's 1 over 10. We know it's 1 over 10 because it's 0.1. 0.1, not 0.1 equals 1 tenth. Try to remember this. Now, we want to try and turn a fraction into a decimal. Consider 1/5. Now, divide 1 by 5. Well, you probably think you can't do that because 5 doesn't go into 1. But like magic, we can. We say 1 over 5. So it's 5 into 1. We can't do that. So write a 0 and a decimal point. So write a 0 and a decimal point. Multiply it by 10. So it's now what we've got is 1/5, which is multiplying it by 10 is 10. 1 times 10 is 10. 10 over 5. Now 5 into 10 is 2. But we had to write this decimal point up here. So we write a 0 and the decimal point. So it's 0. 5 into 10 is 2. So it's 0.2. And we write the 2 after the decimal point. So 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. 1 divided by 5 you can't do. You get 1/5. To turn it into a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator. So 5 into 1, you can't do that. 5 add a 0. 5 into 10 goes in 2. Write down the 2. But as soon as you added the 0 there, you should have added a 0 and a point. And the 5 into 10 is 2. So it's 0.2. That is equal to 1/5. So 1/5 equals 0.2. Again, a quarter is a decimal. Well, if we take 1 and divide it by 4, well, we can't do it. So we add a 0. Now, as soon as you add a 0, write a 0 up here and a point. So 4 into 1, can't do. 4 into 10, yes, we can do. But as soon as you add that 0, add a 0 up here and add the point. It'll stop you making mistakes. So do that immediately. As soon as you add the 0 here, add a 0 and a point there. Now 4 into 10, well, 4 into 10 goes twice. So 4 2s are 8. Now take 8 away from 10 is 2. 4 into 2, can't do. Add another 0. 4 into 20. 4 into 20 goes 5. 5 4s, 20. Subtract 0. So a quarter, 1 over 4, is the same as 0.25. .25 is equal to 25 over 100. Divide the numerator by 25, you get 1. Divide the denominator by 25 and you get 4. So 0.25 is the same as 25 over 100, which is the same as 1 over 4. 1 over 4, 0.25. And that's how we've worked it out. That's a little table like I did before to show you how to get it. You can come back and look at that later if you want to. It's essentially what I've just said about this here. So wind back the video if you want to have a look later. Now, how to turn a fraction into a decimal? Well, again, 2 over 9 as a decimal. This one doesn't look nice. 2 over 9. So all we write down is 2 divided by 9. We'll just put a line up here. We're going to do the division on the top. So draw a line like this. Now 9 into 2. Well, you can't do that. 9 doesn't go into 2. So write down a 0 and add a 0 at the end and put a point up here. 9 into 2 can't go. 0. Add a 0 at the end, so now it's 20, and put a point up there. 9 into 20. 9 2s are 18. So write the 2 as 18. Subtract 18 from 20 is 2. Add a 0. 9 into 20 goes twice. 2 9s are 18. 18 from 20 is 2. This number is called recurring. It actually goes on forever. It's 0.22222 and so on. But you can see we now can convert 2 over 9 into a decimal. In fact, many people would say 2 over 9 is a better answer in this case because we can write it down, whereas 0.22222 and so on, we can never get to the end. So the decimal is not as precise as the fraction in this case. 0.25 is equal to 25 over 100 is equal to a quarter, the same as before. Now, convert. This is converting a decimal into a fraction. We start with a decimal and we want a fraction. We're going the other way. So we want to convert 0.34 into a fraction. 0.34 into a fraction. So first of all, we can identify the different places. We've got the unit place. That's the 0 up here. That's units. We've got a point here. So it's 0.3. And 0.3 is 3 over 10. 0.3, 4. The 4 is 4 over 100. So we've got units over tens and over hundreds. .34 equals 0 plus 3/10 plus 4 over 100. Which is the same thing as saying, well, 3 over 10 is the same as 30 over 100. Multiply the numerator by 10, multiply the denominator by 10. So you get 30 over that, and here you've got 4 over 100. And you can, when you add the 4 and the 30, you get 34. So it's 34 over 100. Now divide 34 by 2, which gives you 17. Divide 100 by 2, gives you 50. So the answer is 17 over 50. So 0.34 is the same as 17 over 50. You can write this down, and you'll find it works with every decimal and every fraction. So easy ways of doing it. Now, convert a decimal into fractions. Well, the summary is we have a unit place, we have a tens, a hundreds, and a thousands. So it's 1,000, 200s, 30, and 5 units. That's 4 over 10, 5 over 100, and 6 over 1,000. So if we get any number which's got a decimal, we know how to write them down. We know what each number means. These are the thousands column, the hundreds column, the tens, the units. These are the 1/10ths, 100th, and 1,000. Multiplying decimals. Well, let's say you want to multiply that by that. Start by lining up the decimal points. Always put one under the other, but make sure the decimal points are in the same position. So here you go. 2.35 multiplied by 1.75. You'll note here the decimal points are one under each other. Now, just forget the decimal points. Best thing to do, just multiply it now. So we'll say 5 5s 25, right down to 5, carry 2. 5 3s 15, and 2 is 17, right down to 7 and carry 1. 5 2s 10, and 1 is 11. So it's 1175. Do the same for the 7. 7 5s 35, carry the 3. 7 3s 21, and 3 is 24, carry the 2. 7 2s 14, and 2 is 16, so it's 1645. Multiply by 1, so it's 1 5 is 5, 1 3 is 3, 1 2 is 2. Add it all up, you get 5, forgetting the decimal point. 7 and 5 is 12, that's carry 1 6, 4 10, and 1's 11, and so on. So we get 4 1 1 2 5. Now we need to find out where do we put the decimal point, because these are decimal numbers. And how you do that is simple. Take the decimal point and go, put it before, sorry, beg your pardon, put it after the last digit. So we go, move it there as 1, move it there as 2. And that would make that 235. So it's 1, 2. 2 places of decimals. This one is 1, 2. So in total it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down here right behind the 5 and count over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the decimal point there, and you've got the right answer. So multiplying 2.35 by 1.75 is 4.1125. Come the other way. You must try to remember these tricks and techniques. This is how we do it. Dividing by decimals. Well, this is not pretty either. This is quite difficult as well. You have to remember the rules. Let's say we're dividing 12.35 by 1.82. Well, that's difficult. So what we do is we make the divisor a full number. Make this one a full number. And we do that by multiplying by 10, multiplying by 100. But if you make the divisor up by 100, you've got to make the other number up by 100 as well. So multiply by 10 and 100. So what we end up with is 1,235, not 12.35. 182, not 1.82. So we have made this one a full number. There it is. And we've adjusted this one by the same number of places. So we go 1, 2. And then here we go 1, 2. Same. Now just do a normal division. When you do a normal division, we just try out different numbers. So we start here with 6, multiply that, and we get this number here. If we tried 7, it would be too big, wouldn't fit. So 6 is the right number. Subtract it, and we get this. Add a 0. As soon as you add the 0, put a decimal point up. As soon as you do that, put a decimal point. Now divide 182 into this. It goes in 7 times. Subtract 156. Add a 0. Divide it, you get that by 8. So now you're working out a decimal. And at the end, you have divided this number by 182, 1235 by 82, 182, and you find that the answer is 6.785. And that's the method you use. It's wise to know these techniques. Don't just rely on your calculator or on your phone. There will be some time in the future when your phone battery is dead and you need to do this calculation. So it's best to find out. This is the rule. Make the divisor, in this case 1.82, that's the divisor, into a full number. So multiply it by 100. 10, 100. So it becomes 182. This means we multiply 12.35 by 100. Because we've multiplied the first one by 100, you multiply the other one by 100. And now we may perform the division. It's just a long division.